Welcome to Product Management Summit. Thank you for joining the talk on managing product teams and communicating with stakeholders. I am Niranjan Rode, product manager with Elime and having industry experience of more than 8 years. In our today's talk, we will talk about what are product teams, that is, what is the essence of a product team, building a product team, how do you structure the team, what should be the correct team size, etc. Managing the product team, how do you set the expectations, how do you set the goals, outcome approach, why is it so popular and why we should try it out. Leading without authority, how do you influence the team, how do you motivate the team members, and last but not the least, communicating with stakeholders. So let's dive into it. Focused on a particular goal or a particular task is a luxury today, and that is what exactly product teams do. Product teams do not work on entire products, or even for that matter any ad hoc task received from the management. Product teams focus on a particular feature or a particular functionality and work on that. This helps the organization build intellectual capability and also intellectual assets in a particular feature or functional area. Product teams are highly autonomous. They decide their own course and they are responsible to deliver on that. These teams are cross functional as well. They have all the required skill set within the team, so there are no dependencies. Each product team member performs wide-ranging roles and responsibilities. They wear many hats. On a day, they can be a developer. On some other day, maybe they can even be an architect and help in the solution design. So on and so forth. What is a perfect product team? Now, that changes from environment to environment or from company to company. Having the perfect product team is actually the holy grail. It takes time and effort to set this up, but the effort is worthwhile. As Steve Jobs has rightly said, building the product is a byproduct, but having a perfect product team is the hardest part. What happens if we don't have a good product team or if the product team is not autonomous? Well, the picture on our right hand side represents exactly that. If the product team is not empowered properly, it leads to a chaotic situation. They are caught between management guidance, change, uncertainty, and sometimes are even insensitively criticized for some failure. So, this is the essence of having a product team and the importance of having a product team. Now, in our next slide, we'll see how we can build a perfect product team. So, let's get into that. Now, before we get into building or talking about building a product team, a key factor or key aspect to remember and understand is that research has shown that successful teams are always how dependent on how they function together and not who is on the team. Team members are more receptive and are more concerned about psychological safety. They are also concerned about that if they go out on a limb and make a mistake, then they should be supported. That's what gives them creativity and independence. Also, team members crave from support from their peers as well as their fellow team members. And last but not the least, they expect to have some sort of structure and also clarity on what they are supposed to be doing or what is expected out of them. Now, since we have this cleared, we can now further talk on how do we build a product team. So, imagine if your company was a ship and you're sailing from point A to point B, but you also know that there are some turbulent waters in between. So, you're going to hire a crew for the ship. Okay, so if we're hiring a crew for a ship, maybe we can hire the best captain. But it won't make sense if we have four captains, right? That may lead to conflict. Or, for that matter, we cannot even have all first mates or everyone to be a chief engineer. We need a mix and match and a balance of both or all the possible positions on the ship. So, when the ship actually hit the water or gets caught into some turbulence, each member of the ship or the crew has clarity on what is expected out of him, what is his role, and what is he supposed to deliver. Well, these are the key principles which one should follow while building a product team. Product teams are supposed to be highly competent, which means that they should have the skill set and also the ability to learn on new things. Because when we are caught in some task or when we are running against the timeline to release a feature, we cannot say that this is not my responsibility. each member should stand up and be able to help out in whatever task or whatever situation necessary. So always ensure that you're looking for the right attitude more than the skill set or even the attitude to help out in difficult situations. Now let's talk about the two pizzas team concept. Well, this concept was made famous by Amazon, and what it essentially means is your product team should not be such big in size that it cannot treat one itself within two pizzas. So, how many people can eat two pizzas? Or how many people, when they eat two pizzas, will be said, will not be hungry anymore? I believe 10 or 12 people, right? So that is an ideal size for a product team. Any less, and maybe you will not have the capacity to deliver the features. And any more, maybe you that will lead to increased conflicts within the team because the roles might not be clear then. So if we have to find a balance between cultural fit and skill set, cultural fit should be given a bit more weightage always because that is where the attitude of the team members will come in. This will also help in conflict resolution and also keep the team motivated. This will also ensure that there is open communication and collaboration and no egoistical issues within the team. All these principles are very critical and should always be considered while building a product team. Now that we have understood what is a product team and now we have already built a product team for ourselves, let's look into the concepts or let's take a look at how we can effectively manage a product team. So let's get started with that. So there are many layers to any product team. At a high level, the product team should be aligned and each member within the product team should be moving towards a common goal. All their goals should be aligned not only vertically, but their roles and responsibilities should also be aligned horizontally. This is very important to give them clarity. Well, a set of guidelines for making decisions should also be defined. We have already discussed that how product teams are autonomous. If they are autonomous, they should be empowered to make their own decisions. But at the same time, there should be some hierarchy or guidelines for making those decisions. We should be categorizing decisions which they can make on their own, or maybe some decisions which needs some kind of approval to ensure that they are aligned with the overall goal of the organization. Apart from this, the role of each product team member should be clearly defined, and that particular member should be made accountable for delivering on that role or expectations. For example, if the requirement is not gathered correctly, or a research is not completed appropriately for a particular feature, then that responsibility lies with the product manager. If there is some issue in the design or the solution design does not meet the expectations, then that is the responsibility of an architect. However, if the developer makes any mistakes and the feature is not working as it is supposed to work, then that is the responsibility of a developer. So on and so forth. It's very important to avoid conflicts. The clear definition of roles and responsibilities will ensure in doing exactly that. Since the product teams also need some guidance or a structure to follow, we should also have a comprehensive roadmap. The roadmap should be transparent and should be projected at a high level, and maybe it can be for a quarter or 2 quarters or even for a year. The product team should be given complete overview of the roadmap and should be made understood why we are doing things, why are we doing things now, and what happens if we delay these things, and the impact it will have on the end user. The product team should also inherit a culture of goal settings. The goals can be set in terms of what value is to be delivered and when and how. The how part is for the engineering side to decide, but the what part is what is supposed to come from the product manager. This, if followed, will certainly help to avoid conflicts. This will also ensure that the product team is moving with velocity and is delivering value as planned. Now let's take a look at the outcome approach and why is it so effective. The table that we see on our screen very nicely summarizes the outcome approach. It clearly defines what is expected of the leadership team and what is expected of the product team. This can be a good reference for anyone trying to follow or implement the outcome approach. We have now talked about how product teams should be autonomous and should be empowered in making their own decisions. However, what happens in some cases is because product teams are autonomous, they may sometimes not agree with a function or a feature that leadership is actually passionate about and requesting them to build. The product team may well have their own reasons behind that and may even have research or data to back it up. And this is where we as leadership team should be very cautious. We should not start dictating what the product team has to do or is not allowed to do. Because if we start doing that, then the whole purpose of the product team is lost. Instead, what we should be doing is we should be setting OKRs, that is, objectives and key results. We should measure the product team against these OKRs and we should hold them true. If we feel that they are straying away from the organization's main objective or the BHAG, then we should get them back on track through monitoring and feedback and evaluations. But we should never dictate what the product team is building. That is actually what this, in simple words, outcome approach defines, is that simply judge the progress of your product team based on the OKRs. Define the product teams in negotiation, define the OKRs in negotiation with the product team and hold them true to that. If we are able to do this, then well, we have won the battle and we will have a very high functioning product team who will be delivering features at a great velocity. Now that we understand the outcome approach, now let's take a look at how to lead without authority and how to be successful at it. Leading without authority is an art. It is an art which every product manager should and has to be good at. It is a skill set which will help you win your team's trust and also help you further them in their career. Well, here we see the four pillars of leading without authority, which, if understood and followed correctly, will help you be a successful leader and a successful product manager. The first and foremost is building trust. It is very important that your product team trusts you. They also trust your vision. They feel the same passion that you feel for your roadmap. And how do we do that? Well, it's very simple through open communication. Be as open as possible with your product team. If they are making a mistake, tell them they are making a mistake. But if you think that it is a genuine mistake, then stand behind them and defend them. If you think they are doing a good job, don't be afraid to appreciate them. Also, appreciate them in front of the leadership team. This will show them that you are a genuine person, that they can trust you, that you have the guts to say the wrong if they point out when they are wrong, and at the same time, clap hands for them when they're doing the right thing. This will go a long way in building trust with your product team, which is very, very important. Now, next is empathetic listening. What this actually means is listening and understanding what your team member is going through, or what his situation is, or what is he actually trying to explain. The way we put ourselves in the shoes of a user and the way we empathize with our users, it is equally important to empathize with our team members as well. This will show them that you not only listen to them, but you actually take some action on their feedback, or you actually care for their feedback. This will help them in becoming more open to you. This will also help them relate with you or establish a connection with you at a personal level, which again is very important if you're trying to influence or motivate team members without having actual authority over them. Next is warm body language. Now, we all know about different body languages, But warm body language is very important, and this also goes into making your team members comfortable around you. What exactly is warm body language? Well, it simply means having positive eye contact, having open arms, or having open body postures, like do not cross your legs, do not cross your arms, or even for that matter, having open palms or resting your palms comfortably on a desk or a table. All this shows that you're confident in what you're doing. It also shows that you're receptive to the thoughts of your team members. You're open to suggestions and you're willing to give their ideas a try. This makes them feel accountable. This makes them feel valuable. And it also makes them feel loyal towards you. This, if followed correctly, goes in a long way in earning brownie points with your team members, where, in some cases, even if we make a mistake, they will still stand behind us. And last but not the least is creating visibility. The product team members should always have clear visibility on what we are building and why we are building that. They should also understand what the users are expecting. What is the timeline? Why have we defined this timeline? And what will be the impact on overall product or the overall organization if that is not completed? This will give them a sense of purpose. This will also give them a sense of velocity. That is, they will feel that they are contributing and moving in the correct direction. Their contributions are valued and that they form a very integral part of the product team. All this together will help you earn the trust of your team. They will listen to you and be also motivated and passionate about the product vision and about the product or feature that they are building. This will help you lead your product team without any authority and through mutual understanding. So, now that we have seen most of the aspects of the product team, let's dive in and check how do we communicate with the stakeholders and how do we do this seamlessly. So, let's take a look at that. So, let's talk about communicating with stakeholders. But before we jump into communicating, the tips and tricks and the good points to follow while communicating with stakeholders, let's first try and identify who are our stakeholders, or for that matter, what are stakeholders. Basically, any person being affected by your product or a feature, by the success or failure of your product, is a stakeholder. Any person even working on your product is also a stakeholder. Now, there are many ways to classify stakeholders. Some do it based on their proximity to the product or the effect of the product on the stakeholders. Like, for example, there can be primary stakeholders, there can be secondary stakeholders, or there can even be tertiary stakeholders. For the purpose of communicating with stakeholders, the graph that we see on a screen gives a very clear cut idea on how we can bifurcate our stakeholders. This graph considers the power of decision making and the interest or the vested interest that a stakeholder has in your product. The higher the interest, the more informed we should keep the stakeholder. The higher the power, we should manage them more closely. For example, a CEO or a leadership committee member will be will be will be having high decision making power and hence needs to be managed closely. At the same time, a high user or maybe one of our biggest clients for a B2B product will be a stakeholder who will have maximum interest in our product and hence he needs to be informed from time to time. For the sake of this presentation or this talk, I have divided the stakeholders into four major categories. Let's talk about and take a look at each category and how do we communicate with the members in this category. The first category is executive and leadership stakeholders. These are essentially the C-level executives and the leadership team. These people are very interested in data. They are interested in quick facts. They are interested in small presentations. They don't have much time to listen to you, but they are also interested in keeping tab on the progress that you're making. Whenever you are communicating with executive and leadership team, always ensure that you are giving them good data to back up whatever you are saying or facts, and they should be to the point. If you are setting up a meeting, ensure that you are sending the agenda of the meeting well in advance. If you are planning to present something, then ensure that you are sharing the deck with them in advance. Chances are they might not even go through it, but at least it will act as a good reference point. If you're planning to make a big point, or if you're trying to change the direction of the product, or if you're trying to influence the leadership to make a critical decision, then in such cases, it will be a good idea that you carry cutouts or paper cutouts with you in the meeting. Hand out the cutouts or even the brochures to the team and give them 5 minutes to go through the brochures. This will help set the ground for your talk that is going to follow, or your presentation that is going to follow. These are some of the good points to follow. Important things to remember, or the don'ts you that you should not be doing, or the things that you should not be doing while communicating with executive and leadership team is writing long emails, or for that matter, missing points, not providing data. These are all red flags, and you will quickly lose your audience. The next important stakeholder is our very own product team, because they are the ones who are going to build the product or the feature or even the functionality. You should communicate with your product team on a daily basis. The stand ups that we conduct are a very good point of contact or touch point meetings for that. Understand the pain points of the team during the stand ups and try to resolve that. Understand what the progress the team is making and try to measure the velocity of the team. If the team is stuck somewhere or if they are facing any problems, try to jump in and resolve those. Keep your product team very well communicated and keep the communication channels and lines very open. The next important stakeholder are our customers. We should always keep our customers close to us and we should always listen to them. But at the same time, we should also be able to communicate with them on a regular basis. We should be able to give them demos or maybe even show them prototypes of what we are planning to build. We should collect their feedbacks and try to incorporate them in our product roadmap or even add them as features if they make sense. Always keep your customers on the good side. Always talk to them. Always show empathy towards their problems. Understand their problems. And always, before implementing any solution, try to demo those solutions to the customers to understand and check if it is actually solving their pain point. Now it's the fourth category where we say the other stakeholders or the miscellaneous stakeholders. Who exactly are them? These are all the peripheral teams which we interact with. It might be the marketing team, it might be the accounts team. For that matter, it might even be the pricing team. You should always keep them informed of what you're building and when you are expecting to release these features. You should always touch base with your marketing team on a regular basis or at least once in a month to check how they are marketing your product. What is the marketing message that they are pushing out? Or what is the feature that they are pushing out the most? Or what are the current trends that they are observing in the market? All this is very good intelligence and it will help you build your product or it will help you guide your product team in a better way. The pricing team will give you on the competitive pricing that is happening in the market, or it will also give you an overview of how your products are being priced. You can also discuss with the pricing team how you can generate premium revenues from your existing customers by giving them additional functionality, etc., and how you can actually price those. So, these are the main categories of stakeholders. All of them are very important, and you should keep them in the loop whenever you are making any important decision. I hope this has given you some tips and tricks to managing communication with stakeholders, and this has proven to be helpful. This has brought us to the end of our talk. I hope you enjoyed the talk and you have certain takeaways from this as well. Just to summarize, we saw what are product teams, how do you, why are product teams so important, how do you build a product team, what is, how to manage product teams, and how to lead them without authority. And last but not the least, we also took a view of how to communicate with stakeholders. Thank you for attending this talk. Here are some of my contact details. You can search me up on LinkedIn and we can connect through LinkedIn if you would like to discuss on this further, or if there are any other areas which I may help you with. Alternately, you can also email me on my email ID, which is niranjan.rode@gmail.com. So once again, thank you very much for attending this talk. I hope you enjoyed it. For any feedback, concerns, or any follow-up queries, do connect with me on LinkedIn or just shoot me an email. I'll be more than happy to talk this through further with you. Thank you and bye bye.